See, this is how I like to go live. You got to dunk just before you hit the live button. You got to get that joke out just as you go live. All right, what is going on, everybody? This is episode 23 of the Gaming Perspective podcast, and I am your host, Spider Cop, and I will be getting you through the majority of this podcast. I have an excellent panel this afternoon. It's tonight. What the hell? I'm in West Coast, apparently. Let me introduce the editor for the Inner Circles Games Network, Mr. Samuel Tolbert.
I'd rather be playing Spider-Man, but I'm here, so let's make the best of
it. Listen, the fact that you don't have... I've got dual monitors. I'm still playing.
I like your thinking.
Writer for the Inner Circle Games Network, Jared.
How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Let's get this show going.
And a main contributor for Basement Radio Arcade podcast, Mr. Eric Jackson.
What is going on, everybody? Hopefully people come through, because I know everybody's probably playing Spider-Man or Destiny 2.
Yeah, well, I'm so disappointed. I turned on my Xbox today. I've been playing Spider-Man mainly to hop on PUBG with my guys, and I looked at my friends list. It's like, you have 9 people on your friends list playing Destiny 2. I'm like, gotta start clearing out my friends list.
We are no longer friends.
Don't be hating. Don't be hating.
Oh, you're the first one to
embrace it.
It's like Rage Virus.
Embrace it.
Playing Destiny 2, and I just get like that disappointed father look on my face.
It'd be even better like if you send them a message, like personalized message, like, these are all the reasons why I'm disappointed in you. Mainly, you play Destiny.
I'm just gonna send Jared a message next time he's on Destiny. It'll be like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm just gonna message him and be like, "Don't be sorry, just be better." Speaking of Destiny 2, the Forsaken expansion, which is the alternative to the Taken King, because every Destiny game apparently needs a soft reboot to be successful. I need to start dunking on this game. I gotta stop dunking on this game. I've heard nothing bad about Forsaken DLC, so we're gonna hand it over to Jared, and we're gonna let you talk about some of the changes that they've made to Destiny 2 with the Forsaken expansion. What do you think the changes are good, bad, everything else? So take it away, bud.
All right. Well, I guess to start off with the Forsaken, it was the first nice thing was it wasn't a 10-level increase like they've usually done in the past. Go from level 20 to 30, 30 to 40. And then you have maybe 2, 3, 4 story missions, 1 or 2 cinematics, and a couple side things, and then you're done. That's usually all the expansions usually have been in the past. This time around with Forsaken, it's quite exponentially more. This time around, they really changed the feel with Cade 6 death, which everybody knows happens because they wanted to open up the end game a lot more with Cade 6 death. I don't know how or why that really matters, but that's their reasoning for it. Anyways, for the amount of content that they have put in the Forsaken in comparison to the previous expansions, I would say take, I don't know, Osiris and Warmind put it together, and you probably have the same amount of story content. For overall content, you can probably take Warmind, Osiris, and the base game, put it all together, and then now you have the Forsaken with the amount of content that they've added to this game now. So that's quite a bit more. They have 2 new areas, which I've been really, really enjoying. The Tangled Shores one, which you're actually out in the reef. That is a nice, giant, destroyed Hubble kind of grim space platform that you go and explore and do adventures and public events and stuff like that. And then the other one, the Dream City.
Yeah,
that's something. Man, I'm impressed with that one. Like, they really stepped up their game for their artistic value, and you got to give credit to the guys at Bungie. Destiny 2 and Destiny in general is a very, very artistic game. They put their hearts and souls into symmetry and symbolism and just art in general for your viewing pleasure in the game. And this time around, whew, it looks good. It looks really, really good. And I guess and as I was telling kind of Sam earlier, in comparison to the Taken King for the Forsaken expansion, I'll definitely say the Forsaken expansion is better than the Taken King, just for the simple fact that it really gave, to me personally, a whole new vibe and feel to Destiny 2 in general. Like it didn't feel the same after I started playing it and getting through a few of the story missions. Like this is starting to feel different than before. So I'm liking the direction that it's heading in right now.
Well, I would say Destiny's never had a problem in the looks department.
No.
So they stepped it up even more. Like I can only imagine what it's looking like. But on Brad the other night, Cognito mentioned the Forbidden City, right? Is that what you said?
The Dreaming City.
I'm sorry, the Dream. Okay, yeah, he mentioned that. He said, "Man, when he got there, it was like a whole different ball game." Man,
it is incredible in there. Like it's not a very big area, but they have this PvE kind of grinding area. They just call it the Well. And that's a nice thing to have, because it's nice to go out in the world into a place where you can grind against enemies without having to worry about player versus player kind of combat sort of thing, and actually be able to grind good, powerful gear that you need or want to use to get raid ready and all that fun stuff. So it's just all the little things in the game, which are a little too many to talk about, really make up the overall feel of the game. And yeah, I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, got Cog in the chat telling you to keep it going, man. Talk.
Yeah. Everybody's got to try that. Got to try out for a second. You just gotta do yourself a favor as a gamer.
All right. So we got a question in the chat from random guy who does art timestamps like 98% of the time. Amazing guy. He's thinking about renting Spider-Man for a few days, but he wants to get Destiny 2 Forsaken. Which should he get first?
Okay. Okay. I'm going to just say,
I'll preface the question first.
Get Spider-Man first. Get Spider-Man first, because you can play that through. You can sit down. You don't have to worry about online or anything like that. You can play it at your own pace, but you can actually get a nice, good single-player experience in that time frame. Or with Destiny 2, you can play it for 3 days, but then you can only get so far, and you might not even get, to the point where you want to be before you have to return it. With Spider-Man, you might be able to do that. You get more enjoyable experience. With Destiny 2, Forsaken, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it comes down to with a game like Destiny 2, like main reason I don't play Destiny 2, but is because I don't have a lot of friends that play Destiny 2. And as everyone in the panel goes, am I not your friend? Because we all play Destiny 2. I work really weird schedules, and all my Destiny guys play at different times than I do. I play at like 1 in the morning till like 9 a.m. because midnight shifts are fun. If you have a ton of people to play with, Destiny 2 is a blast. Like when I first played the base game,
it's wonderful.
I was playing with Anchor and a few others, and it was a lot of fun. If you have people that you can consistently play with, Destiny 2 is definitely a pickup. And then with Forsaken being as good as it is, it's not just Jared I've heard it from. I've heard it from people that don't even really like Destiny saying it's good and everything else. I can't recommend more. If you want to know more about Destiny 2 before jumping into it, check out obviously the Iron Lords podcast, but also I think Cognito does I'm gonna screw this up so bad, but he does
Flashpoint.
Yes, thank you.
YouTube series called Flashpoint.
Absolutely. Absolutely fantastic series. If you're into Destiny or if you're curious anything about Destiny, check that out. If you need a link for it, I can hook you up with that. Just hit me up on Twitter. Not an issue, but definitely if you're on the fence with Destiny 2 Forsaken, check that out. I will always say multiplayer games I always pick those up first because a game like Spider-Man, it's always going to be good. You can always play it whenever.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Destiny 2, like the player base isn't going to drop off. This is a great expansion. But when you I feel like with multiplayer games, if you get in there day one, you get more. It's just better if you're hopped in day one. So
that's true. That's true.
Sam, Eric, anything to throw into that?
No, I would
Having not gotten a chance to play it yet, no.
Well, not I wouldn't say because I don't have anything to add to the Forsaken conversation as far as what it plays like or what it's like, just going off of what everyone's told me how good it is. So I'm hyped to get into it. But to answer the other question I already did in the chat, I would say for the same reason you guys are saying, play Spidey first because
right.
Yeah, you can kind of work your way through that. But Destiny Forsaken is going to be something that you're going to work marathon wise over time.
Yes. Yeah, it's a long-term investment. Where Spider-Man is more of a short term.
Right.
Spider-Man is a thing to get in on the here and now, get in the hype with everybody else, enjoy it. Forsaken is still going to be going on for a while.
Yeah.
A long while.
So hopefully that answers your question. So we're going to jump into the Spiderman talk.
Spiderman.
So I'm just throwing this out there. If there's anyone that can do Spiderman and slap a detective's hat on it, I will make that my profile picture on Twitter for the next 3 weeks.
Spiderman.
Because that
Spider Cop.
Spider Cop. Spider Cop. Half man,
Spider
half
Cop
spider, 100% cop.
I did not know that I needed Spider Cop.
Right.
But it's so
same here. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh man, okay, so I'll kick us off for impressions wise, and we're gonna keep this spoiler free as possible because the game is so fresh. So we won't talk about boss fights or
well, good because I haven't got any boss fights yet.
Okay, now wait a minute, but I would consider a boss fight in the tutorial. How far are we going to go there? Well, we need some clear standards, especially because of the way this game was marketed, which is a complaint I'm going to get into. We need some clear standards about what we're going to say we can talk about and what we can't.
Okay. The fight with Fisk, which is a tutorial because his skill set is just a brute later on.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about that because there's no real spoilers to that because that's the first 30 minutes of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with the boss fight with Fisk, we can talk about. We'll try to avoid mainly I don't want to give away too many key story points about where the plot goes. If you guys have something to share that's cool about an aspect of a boss fight without giving too much away, that's fine.
Okay, so basically, let's try not to talk about anything beyond the tutorial. Then is what you're saying. In terms of specific story beats.
Yes. In terms of story, it's okay to talk about Dr. Octavius and that stuff, because once again, that's the first hour, 2 hours of the game. This is basically going to be spoiler free except for the first 3 hours of the game, which nothing really major happens anyway. So initial impressions, the main concern I had going into this game, believe it or not, it was not puddles.
At all.
Were there enough though?
What I was worried about the most. By the way, I found tons of puddles. I've been
there are puddles. There are all kinds of puddles.
Sam's shaking his head so hard.
I know, right?
Oh god!
The biggest concern I had going into this game was the humor, the banter. Because the thing that makes Spider-Man so good and why the Spider-Man movies 1, 2, and 3 aren't the best is because the banter isn't there. That jokey humor that Spider-Man's known for because he's a younger superhero, right? So he gets that back and forth banter going. And I think they exceeded expectations on that. I'm not sure if I'm alone on that, but there were several times through the game where I busted a gut because I was like the Spider Cop thing. Come on. It was I just don't even have words. It exceeded expectations. I've seen complaints about the web swinging saying it's too easy.
What?
Yeah, no. Check out Anchor's feed if you want some hot takes.
Oh, good God. Don't get me started.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was already expecting Anchor to find something.
Apparently, one button web slinging is too casual.
Oh, God.
You remember when we were talking about opinions being wrong? We've had this conversation before, how everyone can have their opinions, but some opinions are wrong. Okay, all right.
Raise your hand if you've actually web slung through a city before.
Well,
so how do we have any authorities on what is wrong and what is right? And what,
So answer that, Nick.
All right, Nick, keep going, please.
Yes, please.
So web slinging feels really natural, and the thing that I really love about, and this will answer Chief Tommy's question in the chat as well, is the world is very like alive. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you're swinging through the streets, people get out of the way. When you shoot your web, it's not like in Spider-Man 2 where it magically sticks to the sky somewhere and you're swinging. Right. It always attaches to a building.
Right. So if you swing over Central Park, you may be in for a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, you guys feel that tension, like when because you're so used to like how some of the old games were, like you're shooting off into infinity and still swinging. When you fly off of a tall building into a clearing where the buildings are shorter, you're like, oh.
Exactly. But the momentum, and then you get the taxi sound like meow as you just pass by. It's like it's the best bits of the movies in a game. Like the cinematography from the original trilogy, you can recreate that and more.
Right.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And some of the upgrades, because I know all you guys are still very early on in the game, but some of the upgrades you get later on to improve your momentum even further, guys, it's crazy. It's insane how fast you can go. I love it.
My first thing with the web slinging that really got me is I didn't realize it had to attach to something. Like, no, I was swinging through an area and then there was like a gap. I'm hitting the button. I'm not attaching to anything. I'm like, panic. But no, the web slinging feels very natural. It's really easy to get a hang on. I was kind of worried that might be difficult, but very much like Sunset Overdrive. Surprise, same developers. It's very, very easy to get the hang of, and it's so fluid and it's so easy. Did anyone have any other thoughts on the web slinging aspect? We're just going to go through this piece by piece.
Web slinging, I don't think there's anything to say except it's good. It's really, really good. As far as I'm concerned, it's now the best web slinging.
Yeah, I would agree.
And as well, I'll say this as an addendum. There's a reason that you get a trophy for using the fast travel a handful of times. Because they know most people are not going to be using fast travel for anything. Why would you?
Listen, if you fast travel in this game, you are a piece of garbage.
It's interesting that they put the fast travel in, because even in Sunset Overdrive, like I never fast traveled anywhere because half the fun is like traversing the city.
Yeah,
and right, that momentum, that Insomniac movement, they know what they're doing with it. It's so good.
Well, I literally spent 3 hours yesterday. I just got into the game. It was like the first time the world opens up. They're like, oh, unlock this tower, and you can see more of the map. I'm like, oh, there's towers I can unlock. Ooh, there's backpacks. Ooh, and one aspect I want to talk about. I want to get your guys' feel on it. I like how the collectibles all play into the upgrades. Like backpack tokens go towards stuff if you want to unlock suits. There's tech upgrades for solving puzzles. There's everything in the world has a purpose to make Spidey better.
Yeah, and I think they learned from Sunset Overdrive, because some of the things that you were finding there did go towards like XP and leveling up, but it felt like a chore. You're like trying to find like all of the shoes hanging the toilet paper rolls, Like this just feels a little more tight, a little more concise, and that it's not there just as filler to kind of waste your time. And
right. I would agree with you. The backpacks, like it's fun because, and I don't know if you guys are doing this, but what I've been doing, my approach to the collectibles has simply been, okay, the main missions take you all over. I'm going on a direct path. If there's something in my path, I will stop and get it. I will stop and do it. If not, I'll continue on. And so I'm carving like these lines out. And over time, these lines all overlap and you unlock everything. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I thought I was going to take that tactic also. Because I said, if I don't do that, I'm going to spend the next like 4 to 6 hours finding every backpack now.
Exactly.
Because that OCD takes over.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's a good pointer.
The only thing I will say, have any of you guys done like the research stations?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will say the research stations, I don't mind doing them. They're fine. Like I like, getting the research points for them. But it's a bit of a contrived coincidence that every time you arrive at one, there's some disaster about to blow. Like it's like, okay, come on, really? You're telling me that all these disasters were literally just waiting around the city, and the moment you arrive at that particular one, something goes off. All right, whatever. But that's it's a mild thing.
I haven't actually. No, I was thinking something else. The nodes back in Dr. Otto's office.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. That
feel very Bioshocky.
Yeah, but those do. I don't mind those. I like the circuit puzzles and like the spectrograph puzzles. I like.
I'm so good at circuit puzzles between Bioshock and Strange Brigade now that it's not even funny.
It's like, what else you got? It's like, quick.
Okay, well, when you guys do the research stations, let me know what you think. Because those are like, it's kind of like, all right, come on. It's fun. They're easy to do. They're simple 5-minute missions, but it's such a contrived coincidence that even by comic book standards, we're kind of pushing the limits here.
Right.
Sam, you'll have to field this question because it might be an upgradable skill. Can you car surf besides the vehicle chases?
Not kinda. You can parkour. So Parker can parkour automatically by holding down the right trigger. And if you run and you hold down right trigger, he automatically does all those moves. He leaps around rubble, he jumps over stuff, he does all that. So I guess you kind of can, but it's not like you can immediately zoom down, swing, land on a car, and just jump from car to car. It's not quite that simple. So I know that's kind of a non-answer, but kind of is the best way I can put it.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. And if chat-wise, if you guys have questions about the game that you want us to answer as spoiler-free as we can, we will answer them because I want you guys to be able to get feedback on this game if you're sitting on the fence, everything else that way. But the thing is we will only reveal as much as you guys want to know, basically.
The one thing I thought I started laughing to myself is I said Peter has a backpack problem. It's like this dude has spent a fortune in backpacks.
Okay, so guys, funny enough, there's an explanation for it. I'm not kidding. I won't spoil it. One of the collectibles actually references it and explains how, because it's kind of ridiculous. It really is how many backpacks he's got. And how on earth did he explain that one day at May? But
see, I love that. I love the fact that they did that, but then they're like, we know people are going to be like, why does he have all these backpacks? That's crazy, right?
Right. So there is an explanation.
That's great.
You will find a reason for it. It's pretty funny. I actually cackled out loud. I was like, all right, Insomniac, well played. Well played.
And I tweeted earlier about the score, like how it kicks in whenever you start to web swing and how somehow it hypnotizes you and lulls you into swinging more.
Something we don't talk about enough this gen is dynamic sound and sound design in games. And I think there's a handful of games this gen that have done it really well. Nier Automata is one. I would say Quantum Break is another. Now, I know you have your opinions about that game, and you're wrong for them, Eric. But regardless, I think you'd agree that when you use the time powers and the guns, the way it distorts the music, but it keeps on going, it is pretty cool. I think you would co-sign that. And then Spider-Man or Marvel's Spider-Man, because that's the actual name. Thank you, Marvel. Making sure everyone knows who it belongs to, or something. I would say that what they've done there with the web slinging and the music, the way it kicks in, it's pretty awesome. It adds to that cinematic feeling.
Absolutely. But Nick, you were going to say something?
So I want to say, like, as far as like game starts go, how they opened the world up was great. Because it was one of those things where the tutorial didn't feel like a tutorial. You know what I mean? Like they gave you combat introductions. They gave you all these different enemy variants. And like, this is how you fight these guys. And then the world opens up and they're like, okay, these are towers that you have to unlock the map. These are backpacks. These are a collectible that you can find. They like slowly introduced you, and like they did this in Sunset Overdrive, and it was really well done. I'm just glad it transitioned so well, because I hate straight up 25-minute tutorials where they're like, press square to punch this guy, press triangle to kick this guy. It's like your tutorials interesting, and the tutorials were very, very good because they did feel like tutorials. I remember talking to Doc on Twitter, and he said the best tutorials is when you don't realize till you're out of it that you were in a tutorial.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. And even though I realized it was a tutorial, it was still extremely well done.
Yeah, for sure. To answer your question, Tommy, day-night cycle unlocks once you beat the game, you can cycle it, I believe, and the game day-night cycle changes dependent on the mission.
Story missions change it. Otherwise, it's static. However, there are plenty of settings because there's the city at night, the city with fog, with rain, during bright sunlight. So there's a few different states. It's just it doesn't change dynamically. It changes mission based. And I don't know if this is something you guys have picked up on, but have you noticed the thing about the loading screens, how they change?
No, I had not noticed.
Okay, the loading screens actually change based off of whatever suit you're wearing and whatever the weather the city is going under and whether it's day or night. It will change based off of that. It will have the suit that you're currently equipped with. That'll be the one equipped on the loading screen. In the background of the city, if it's at night, it'll be at night. If it's during the day but there's rain, it'll be during the day but there will be rain.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And speaking of suits, you guys have a favorite so far?
I'm torn between the Stark suit from Homecoming and the Iron Spider suit from Infinity War. I like both of those. In terms of actual powers, I'm using them all. I'm using a bunch of them. I'm swapping them in and out constantly.
Okay. Gotcha.
So something we have to talk about, because the history of superhero video games is filled with mediocrity. Mediocrity? What? Okay.
That stuff.
It's filled with mediocre games. There are some gems that shine through, and the gold standard for superhero games up till this point has been the Arkham series by Rocksteady. I think everyone can genuinely agree that even with the issues with the Dark Knight and Origins, they were still very good games. And obviously the pinnacle being Arkham City. I'll fight anyone on that. The combat in Spider-Man feels so good. So good. It flows so well. I like how there's no blocking mechanic, because any game that has a blocking mechanic, I never use it. It's just you've got to dodge. Okay, I'd rather dodge than try to time blocking.
Yeah.
So
essentially, like their block button is the emphasis on the dodge.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Which
and
makes
you have
sense
perfect
for
dodges. The perfect dodges is a nice touch too. If you dodge at the perfect time, you shoot a web into a guy's eyes and distract him. The juggling, air juggling is so good. It's like you get swamped by like 8 guys. You just pop a guy up and start beating him in the air and just get away from the other guys.
Yeah.
It's so important.
They give you so many different combos to deal with them.
Yeah. Like there's so many different ways you can like the different types of web sling. Like I got the first upgrade for the what is it called? It's like the web blast or whatever. It's the second one you get, right? And it's like you shoot them and you can instantly stick a guy to the wall and he's just stuck there. It's like, this is great. I love this.
And then like the little metagame within, within like the little mission things that you're doing, like when you're fighting a group, it's telling you, like stealth, like 3 snipers, or, do 10 perfect dodges. So it kind of keeps you like engaged in trying to do something or switch your combos up or take a different tactic as opposed to taking the same tactic over and over, So I kind of like that they put that in there.
Yeah, they force you, because the big thing with beat 'em ups is that they can get really boring because you find combos that work and you just repeat those.
Yeah.
But what they did with this game is they reward you if you change up your combos. So they're forcing you to use different mechanics, and then you start cycling in those mechanics into your regular play, and then next thing you know, you're using like 20 different combos. Like my favorite thing about that game is when like you're fighting a guy that has a shield and you like punch him once, you duck right between his legs. Like that's the most Spider-Man combo in history. Like it's great. And like the different tactics you have to use against different types of enemies and everything else, it's fantastic. And like the added in thing of when you're being aimed at and the henchman's about to fire and you get that white line and it turns red as soon as they shoot. So you basically have a timing counter to go, okay, dodge now.
Right.
It's great. Anything else you guys want to add to combat wise?
Not really, except the progression feels nice. Unlocking the skill points and different skills, the more complicated or powerful the skill, the more it'll take, and upgrading your gear with all the challenge tokens. It feels like it was done really well. I like the sense of progression. I like how the way the suits and all the tokens you get from the different activities and the exploration, it all ties together. It all ties together well. It all fits together well. Yeah, it's just smooth. It's good. I like it.
Yeah. And the best part of it is I know with some open world games like Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed, I feel sometimes with the level up system, you either feel like you're leveling up too fast or you're leveling up like you're sitting there grinding going, help me.
Right.
With this game, it gives you skill points at a decent rate, especially if you're doing side stuff. You get decent XP for looking out for collectibles, landmarks, everything else. And the combat is really, really, really good. I haven't gotten bored with combat yet. I've only played for like 7-8 hours, but beat 'em ups usually bore me pretty fast. But there's like combos I want to pull off, and there's like things I want to try. Like, can I do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that ties well into the dodge. Like with the different ways that you can handle enemies, technically, you could in theory go through a fight and not get hit once.
Right.
It's possible. It's very difficult. It borders on impossible, but it is doable.
Yeah, and you probably already have tried this numerous times, Sam, but you want to get that thing where you're going through the city, the police radio goes off. This is very Spider-Man when you do this. You're on your way to something else. You see something happening over here. You want to swoop in, take care of it, get right back out again.
Yep, exactly.
Like one fluid motion.
Exactly. Just bam, 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 web these guys up, boom. All right, tip your hat to the boys in blue. I'm off again.
Right.
Exactly.
Not the easiest thing to pull off, well, for me yet anyway, but it's like that's kind of what you're trying to achieve. It's like just fluid motion of web swinging, diving in, going right into the combos and fighting, and then you're back off again before they knew what hit them.
Absolutely. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll be very careful how I say this. Just to make sure you don't get too overpowered, the kinds of crimes and the scale and the danger of the enemies will go up as you progress through the game. So it's not, you are not always going to be doing nothing but stopping thugs who are robbing a mom and pop shop. There will be other stuff to take care of there. And I feel like Shinobi on Twitter, he recently came back to Twitter, which was awesome, said it best where, sure, are a lot of the crimes repetitive? Yeah, they are. But it's telling that it feels so fun that you're like, yeah, I got to do it anyways. I got to stop them. I just get, right, like you were saying, that's Spider-Man mode of thinking. It's really, really good. The only thing I'll really say is, does anyone else feel like this game is a bit easy?
Yeah, because I think I've died like once or twice, and that was just for me like not kind of paying attention and zigging when I should have zagged.
Yeah. What difficulty are you on?
I'm just playing it on casual because I just said, I already know I'll probably do another playthrough, and maybe that one will be like on a little more difficult for the challenge. But yeah, kind of some of these games like this, like I kind of go in now just on whatever the normal difficulty is.
Gotcha.
Just that because I made that mistake of playing Uncharted 4 on Crushing my first playthrough.
Yeah, don't do that.
And I was like, yeah. So I was like, I don't want to do that again. Like
I'm very happy to report this game. Like I'd honestly hate to play on casual because Spectacular is the highest difficulty you can play, right out the gate. I'm playing on the highest difficulty, and it's not challenging. I die a few times, but generally it's just because, oh yeah, you know what? I should have dodged that rocket.
Right.
That really hurt. I don't really die that often. It feels pretty doable. It feels pretty easy. So I don't know. It's a mild thing, but at the end of the day, I'm not, upset with it because it's definitely, falling the wrong way on the side of caution, if that makes any sense. And I like this feeling that Spider-Man has been Spider-Man, for 8 years. Like, he's in control of his powers. He has an established rogues gallery. He knows how to deal with crooks. So him feeling like a touch overpowered is fine by me, if that makes sense. But I didn't know how anyone else felt about it, or if anyone else thought it was a little easy. So,
yeah, I find it easy, but it's one of those things of like it's hard to gauge what is a good difficulty setting for a game, because it's this pinnacle line of where it's like, this is hard, but it's not bullshit, but it's not too easy. And personally, like, worst comes to worst, Insomniac Games puts in a new game plus mode with an extra hard difficulty. Worst case scenario.
Yeah, and I imagine because it's Spider-Man, like they weren't trying to make it too difficult, because you're probably going to have like a lot of like younger players wanting to have this or pick this up, Yeah,
for sure. And that's part of the thing too, is like, this game was made for a wide audience. This isn't Dark Souls. This isn't Sultan Sanctuary. This isn't easily accessible and playable. So we covered combat. I really don't want to touch story.
All I'll say about story is this: if you somehow managed not to watch the E3 stuff from earlier this year, good. Don't watch it. I'm still mad with Sony for showing it. Don't ever do that again. Not cool. There. That's sorry.
Damn.
Yeah, no, I will.
I'm working that. I'm sorry. It hurts because the story is good. This is a really good story with a cinematic focus that really emphasizes that balance between Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and his balance of his life with, the established characters like Mary Jane, Aunt May, and a bunch of others I won't mention. I love it. It's really good. They did not need to tell us where a big chunk of this story was going. So, anyways, that is that. But
yeah, and I think the thing too is I'm kind of sad that they showed off so much of the villains and everything else, because I was kind of hoping they will learn from was it the Dark Knight? Yeah, it was the Dark Knight that had the like 4-minute trailer where it's like every Batman villain ever in the trailer, and it's like, well, okay, so everybody's gonna be there, okay, and it's just kind of like a fight to the end, okay. It kind of gave away a lot, so I was kind of hoping Insomniac would kind of learn from that, and like, I would have been fine if they had teased like Rhino or something like that. Like if they want to tease like a main villain and then like a side villain like Rhino, but like literally they just like, here's 8. It's like, okay, well, I know it's like, it's not hard to predict with superhero games what villains you're gonna fight. But there's always that. The thing is like, where is that villain in their arc currently?
Exactly.
Are they in their origin story start? Are they still like? We could talk about this because it's still within the game. I feel no guilt about saying Dr. Octavius is in this, but he's not Doc Ock. It's like early stage. I don't know how early, because Sam's further in the game, so it may progress more. I don't know. Can't really talk about it. I see your dots. This isn't spoiler territory. Where was I going with this? Damn it. And it's really it really enhances the feeling, because it's one of those things that you get in superhero games, and you see it in superhero movies too, where they're like, oh, this is so and so, and you're like, oh, that's that super awesome villain, but he's not a villain yet. And you're like, oh, that's really cool. So how does he get there? Are we going to see that? Are we going to? And that, I think that's what's so cool about superhero games. I feel like with I feel like with Spider-Man, since we know all the villains that we saw and where they are just through like their character models and everything else, there's less surprise there. It is what it is, but it's still a bloody good game. And as Sam said, the story's surprisingly really good.
Yeah, I actually have to get 2 more of the story. I just can't stop web swinging. So,
yeah, no, that's the thing. Is that's what Sam told me. He's like, I want to stop to do some side activities, but the story's so good. I'm like, I need to stop doing side activities so I can play the main story. It's like
exactly.
This, and I can't wait till we talk next week because there's one specific level I really, really loved early on, but I can't talk about it because it's a good surprise. So moving on. I need to ask Sam about it after the show. To answer Chief Tommy's question, because this was a heckle for the Spider-Man game, is the QTE balanced? There's barely any QTE in this game.
Surprisingly few, especially since of how many they showed off in the 2017 demo. Like, that's probably the most QTE heavy section thus far.
Yeah, like
easily.
Besides,
actually not easily, by a country mile. There's not that many QTEs. It's pretty good.
Like, besides the intro fight with Fisk, and when you take down vehicles and police chases, that's pretty much the only standard QTEs that I've had so far. I'm sure in more cinematic sections with bosses, there will be QTE sections, and that's fine. QTE is a great video game device to show really epic moments where the player's not in full control of the character that you couldn't achieve through combat and everything else.
Right.
Going into this game, I knew there was going to be QTE, but I think the balance is really, 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 really good.
Right. You remember, like, when they first showed it at E3, people were all on that. Oh, it looks like it's going to be a QTE fest. And, yeah, I've already run into, like, the QTE, but I've never had a problem with QTE being used in smart ways in games.
QTEs are a game mechanic. They can be used dumb. They can be used well. It's
right. But I call complete horseshit on people that like to, like, play it up and make it seem like it's the worst thing ever when so many of these same people that will say this, if you look at their, like, you know, their gaming profile or whatever, they probably have every Telltale game played.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, kill it. Stop.
I think the thing is there's good QTE. Like, Spider-Man's a good example of good QTE, and then there's some things that shouldn't be QTE'd. I'm going to reference the Order 1886 with the stealth takedowns. Why that a QTE thing is beyond me.
Because they were paying more attention to the to the tech of the game as opposed to the gameplay. They already admitted it.
Yeah, that's their words on the situation.
Yeah. And Colin Moore already called that out, like, right off the bat, and they actually admitted to it. But I still say the game needs another chance. They just need to hire some people that know how to make gameplay better.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're not doing the order.
I think I'm going to say this. I'm not sure if anyone's going to agree with me on this one. Insomniac Games actually did a really bad showing this off. That 2017 trailer with all the QTEs,
it's not representative of the game. It really isn't.
No, it's not. And I think they probably did the same thing, like we were saying earlier, or Sam mentioned earlier, at E3, showing. I was kind of disappointed that it showed that many villains in one clip.
I remember distinctly.
It's like, I don't care how much more content you have. That's some big, like, story beat reveal stuff. That would be really cool if you didn't know any of them were in there.
Exactly, especially because, I mean, and this is not a spoiler, this was heavily in the marketing even before earlier this year, like, especially because they were leading off with Mr. Negative as a villain. Right. And Mr. Negative is so, how do I put this, ill-known? He's not a big villain in the comics at all. He's like from one story in one continuity. He's the most obscure villain you could have plucked out of there to use. And I love that. I loved them leading off with that and then being like, okay, so yeah, Mr. Negative and Shocker, but we're not going to tell you anything else. That was it. That's all you needed to do.
Yep.
But, I digress.
But here we are.
It's what it is. Here's hoping for round 2 that they learn. Well, since we're waiting on Nick right now because he had to go do something, Chief Tommy asked, will it outsell God of War 2-1 in his opinion? Aaron, Eric, you want to jump in on that first? I'm still processing my thoughts, honestly.
Man, Tommy, that is such a hard thing to answer, bro, because it's like, on the one hand, God of War just like came out of the gate strong, and that word of mouth just propelled it even further.
Right.
But at the same time, we're talking Spider-Man, which has like universal appeal.
Exactly.
So it's like, dude, I mean, I don't know. I mean, but if you want to pin me down, like pin my foot down to the ground and maybe give you an answer, I would probably say that, you know, given that we're going into the holiday, that Spider-Man is probably going to catch it, because Marvel's just on fire right now with everything that they're doing. Spider-Man is just on people's minds with like Infinity War and, you know, Homecoming. Even though this game has nothing to do with that timeline, it still is, you know, Spider-Man's just a beloved character.
Right.
And it has a wider appeal than a God of War. Like, you can get more types of gamers than a God of War.
It's very tough. It's very tough for me to make this call, because Matt Piscatella has explicitly said that God of War has broken the model for its type of game. It's not. It's performing. Forget ahead, above, like light years ahead of where it should be by all rights. So God of War is just doing phenomenally. Okay, but this is Spider-Man we're talking about. Right. However, there's also the fact that we've been burned by several years of bad Spider-Man games. I don't know how ingrained into the casual audience that is. I really don't.
I don't know. I don't know either. But I think, just like we were saying with the word of mouth for God of War, I think that's probably what you're going to find with this Spider-Man. It's reviewing really well. And I think when people talk about it, it'll be like, oh, I don't have anything to worry about because everyone's saying it's great.
In fact, I'll tell you this. It wouldn't surprise me if Spider-Man sells less in its first month than God of War did in its first month, but Spider-Man catches God of War in overall sales by the end of the year. I can believe that happening.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be meteoric like I think I said that right. Like God of War, but yeah, I think
it'll be very steady, very steady. I don't think it'll be 2-1 either, though. God of War is simply too strong for it to be 2-1 this year.
I'm gonna just based on what I saw on Saturday, I'm gonna say it's gonna sell God of War 2-1 by the end of the year. I will say that just for the simple reason, God of War launch at my EB Games, there was 50 people at my local GameStop. There was 400 people at my GameStop on Saturday picking up copies.
Whoa. 400.
400 people. It took me almost 3 hours to get my copy.
Wow.
There was almost every other person had a PS4 Pro under their arm. They had the Spider-Man and the amount of collector's editions hanging out of it was absolutely insane. I haven't seen a line that big since Halo 4. And to give context too, when I say there's like 300, 400 people in my GameStop, I live in a town of 3,000 people. There was 10% of our population at GameStop. This game is
Spider-Man.
Just the sheer marketing push this game has. You think of it, and the thing is too, is people aren't thinking about the last Spider-Man game, because that was what, Amazing Spider-Man?
Yes.
Yeah. No one's thinking about that game. What people are thinking about is how good the Marvel movies are. That's what everyone's thinking about. Everyone's coming off Spider-Man Homecoming, Infinity War. They're like, yeah. And this is Marvel giving a good AAA studio the rights to do what they want with a franchise. And what they showed off, there's TV trailers, there's YouTube trailers, it's everywhere. There's 3 guys in my clan that said they never buy a PlayStation, bought PlayStations on Friday.
Damn. I mean, I'm seeing that Pro all over like my timeline, man.
Yeah, like my timeline was literally Spider-Man for like 2 days, 2 whole days. It's just been Spider-Man, and like
it's gonna be Spider-Man for like the next 2 weeks.
But to be fair, my timeline was all God of War when God of War came out. It was all Sea of Thieves came out. I'm not going to use my timeline as justification.
Well, that's what I said too. Is like with my GameStop, there was 400 people in my GameStop picking up PlayStation 4 copies. Like the line was like it was a 3-hour line wait to get your fucking copies.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was nuts, and like there was people there. They were they were sold out of merch. They were sold out of it. Like it, I haven't seen anything like that since the 360 era. Let's face it, game launch nights. They said when they had game launch night, because usually they do like pizzas and some other stuff. My GameStop's one of the few that still does launch nights for even smaller games.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they had to order 96 pizzas on launch night because there were so many people.
Damn.
Like this game is going to do astronomical numbers. I think I want to say we're probably going to get numbers on Monday. I'm going to say because we got numbers on God of War 3 days after it came out, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep.
So, Sea of Thieves a week after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So generally speaking, if a game has knocked it out of the park, you hear about it very quickly afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And if Spider-Man hits as hard as God of War did right off the hop, whew, boy, that is good for Insomniac. That is good for Insomniac. They deserve a home run. They've always made good games, but whether they hit the mark with the public and critically has always been actually they're critically consistent. It's just whether or not they hit an audience or not. And I'm just really glad
the character that can do it.
Yeah, and I'm really glad to see them shine in this because this is the kind of game that they should have. After Sunset Overdrive, they definitely needed to make this. This was the game to play this because I remember playing Sunset Overdrive with my friend. I'm like, you can imagine if you had like a Spider-Man game or these guys did like a superhero game. They're like,
prophesizing. Look at you prophesizing.
Yeah, it wasn't prophesizing. It was just like a pipe dream at that point. But
all right, so if that hits that way, how long before we get like another superhero character? How soon do we start hearing more like of these types of games like hitting? Because I know I know we had like Batman,
right?
Really successful, right?
Well, Rocksteady's doing that Superman game. That is confirmed. They have said they are working on. It wasn't at E3 for undisclosed reasons. They never stayed. They said in a press release they just weren't ready. So I'm not sure if that means it's next gen. It's going to be late gen. I don't know what that means for that game.
Yeah, I would say that this applies not just to superhero games, but just games in general. A game that's unannounced at this point is kind of in an awkward position because next gen is right around the corner in 2020. So I feel like any other big superhero games are next gen. I'm beginning to feel like that big Crystal Dynamics Avengers game is next gen, and we just heard about it like the moment they started working on it, in all honesty. So we'll see, but I definitely think Marvel's going to be paying attention to how well this worked out. I'll say that, and they'll probably begin contracting like, hey, or accepting pitches or taking pitches like, hey, X studio, X publisher, what do you think about this? Because it's very interesting how they went to Insomniac and PlayStation for Spider-Man, but they went to Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix for the Avengers. So that tells a lot about them wanting to do different things and accomplish different things with different IPs, if that makes any sense. Yep. And it's interesting as well that they're not trying to shackle everything into the MCU. Although I'm perfectly okay with that, even if they were. But instead, they want to let them tell their own stories in their own sort of elseworld type events. So we'll see. We'll see. I imagine we'll probably see something around 2021, 2022, depending on when the Avengers game releases. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, at the risk of this being way too early to talk about, when do you guys think we're going to get a sequel to this? Because we absolutely will. I don't think that's up for debate.
Well, this comes the line because Marvel has Marvel and Sony have a partnership license on this. They gave the blessing to Insomniac to do it, but Insomniac can easily just go, we don't want to make 2 now. We want to do something else. That being said, though, I can't see with how much of a success this one is, I can't see them not wanting to do 2 right off the bat.
Yeah, like why would they not want to work on this?
They've already stated they don't really have an interest in going back to Resistance. Ratchet and Clank, they had the game in 2016.
And that as good as it was, I think that was kind of a one-off, in all honesty. But
yeah, I think it was as well. So yeah, you'll see another Spider-Man game, or maybe they'll take a crack at a new IP. But the coals are hot. Marvel is hot.
I think they're gonna switch back to Sunset Overdrive 2, get that pushed out, then switch back to Spider-Man.
Oh, it'll be interesting. What interests me with this, and what I'll always say with this, is Sunset Overdrive 2 has always been on the table. Insomniac Games says, we just need a publisher.
Right.
That's all they want.
Now, here's the question. If there is a Sunset Overdrive 2, is it multiplayer this time?
Honestly, I think if a Sunset Overdrive 2 does happen, it's because Microsoft finances it. I don't think anyone else is just interested otherwise.
See, because from my understanding is if they did, I remember reading a thread on this. It was at NeoGAF at the time. There's complications with the original Sunset Overdrive ever going to another platform because Microsoft published it, and there's some legalities to it. And then if 2 went multiplayer, it's kind of the same situation of like Kingdom Hearts. You're giving people the sequel, but you're not giving them the original games.
Right.
So Sunset Overdrive,
significantly less of an issue for Sunset Overdrive than Kingdom Hearts, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, well, that's a story. That's a story thing. But you know what I mean? Like when you don't have the original available on your console, but you can play the sequel, it's kind of bugs it a bit. And to be brutally honest, I implore, because Phil Spencer's always saying they're going, we're looking for more games. We're looking for more games. Well, just toss some money to Insomniac. They just hit the park with Spider-Man, and Sunset Overdrive was a good game. It was just...
But the thing is, would he want to? Because it's like, it didn't hit. Like they did everything they could for it. They dropped the price on it. They gave it away, and it's just... People just did not
at a certain point, well, it's like, what about this? What about not a Sunset Overdrive, but what if a new IP? Give them a crack at a completely different thing under their own belt. Again, we're assuming Insomniac would want to, but since we're playing make-believe here, let's play make-believe. I think that might be a little more realistic than a Sunset Overdrive too.
And I do too. And as much as I would love to have a Sunset Overdrive like sequel, I just wonder if he will be gun shy. To put that time and resource into having that. And
right.
And, just kind of, business is business. You have to kind of look at the return on that and go,
Yeah, I mean, it can't be denied though that Sunset Overdrive hit at a time when the Xbox One was facing massive PR issues. Phil basically hadn't even really stepped into the role yet. He was just staunching the bleeding. So I think that and the fact that Game Pass is a thing now. And that really softens the blow because Game Pass has been proven to help sales of things. Like, they've outright admitted that Sea of Thieves massively overperformed their expectations. And a lot of it is due to Game Pass. So I feel like that helps.
It does help.
It's not the full story, especially not for a launch game, because, the closer a game is to launch, the more of a risk there is.
Right.
Because you just don't have that install base. So,
right. And here's the thing too, Sam. It's like you kind of answer that question that people, not even the question, but the criticism that you've been getting hit with. Like, you never return to anything. You keep going back to Halo. You keep going back to this and that, but you never go. And where something like Rise is concerned, we already know that's like a complete mess. Like, you're trying to navigate that and get that to happen, and it's unlikely because of where Crytek is, right?
Yeah, for it's the ultimate irony, right? Like, that's the one they actually did try to return to, and then Crytek's like, nope. Right. But you don't need the money. Nope. Like, okay.
So
all right.
You say, you know what? We're gonna gunsling, roll the dice, however you want to look at it, and we're gonna shoot, for a Sunset Overdrive 2. And like you said, maybe because of Game Pass, maybe because they are taking another shot, they get behind it. Maybe the Xbox will be in a better place, or is heading to what seems to be a better place. Maybe more people are paying attention.
Yeah, the thing is too, and this bugs me a lot, especially in like when you see social media aspects and everything else. Sunset Overdrive is a seriously overlooked game.
Absolutely.
I think it sold just over 1 million. It's low. But you start looking at games, and it's really sad because everyone is always crying, oh, well, we want this kind of game. We want a different kind of game. We want this. All the big hitters this gen have been already established games.
Right.
Like, there's exceptions. Horizon Zero Dawn is a big exception. But you look at things like Hellblade. That didn't even hit 1 million between PS4 and PC. It hit 1 million when it crossed over to Xbox One. It took 3 platforms to get Hellblade to 1 million. And that's a $30 game that was absolutely tremendous, but it barely hit 1 million.
Right.
And people are saying this is at the same, and this is why this pisses me off so much. It's because Hellblade literally releases when everyone's pounding their fists on the table that single player games matter. This is all that matters. We've got to fight against the multiplayer Activision BS that everyone's peddling. And it's like, okay, so you want these single player experiences, and okay, so why is this game under 500,000 in sales after the first few months?
Yep.
Why did Wolfenstein 2 underperform? Why did Evil Within 2
people
underperform?
are dicks.
Like,
Sorry.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It's the thing is people want to whine and complain about how multiplayer games are the worst. Yet these are the same guys that if you go to their PSN or their Xbox Live and it's like, oh, you're playing Fortnite or Call of Duty or Madden right now, and you're currently sitting on Twitter complaining about single player games not getting the shine they deserve.
Right.
Let me just swipe past that. And that's the thing is like Sunset Overdrive. Why Xbox guys didn't buy that is beyond me. There's things that just blow my mind that I sit there and go, this is a really good game. It reviewed really well. Why didn't people buy it? And like Hellblade did exceptionally well because there was no marketing. Like there was basically no marketing or PR behind that. And like it still did well. And there's also different levels of performance. I know Sam will co-sign this to a point. Depending on the type of game you're making, there's different markers you set. Like not every game developer is shooting for 10 million copies sold. This is our goal. Like Hellblade overperformed for what they initially wanted, which is great. But Hellblade did really well for Ninja Theory, but it wasn't enough to save them from financial problems.
Right.
And that studio wouldn't be here if Microsoft hadn't bought them. And whether you want to complain about Microsoft just buying up talent or picking up studios or whatever, they saved a premium studio from financial problems. If people ever want to understand games development, before we cross over to our last two topics, do you ever want to understand games development? Watch the developer diaries for Hellblade. The amount of passion and hard work, and like the fact they built the VR version side by side with the main game with 20 people, and they made a VR version and the original version at the same time. And they did things in the main game so the VR version could be better. There were certain design choices and everything else. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
Right.
Now, we're going to go into a little bit of this is going to be primarily me and Sam talking about this. Is PUBG 1.0 launched early last week.
I'm going to take a nap. Don't mind me. I'm going to take a nap.
Don't mind me. I'm going to slap you.
You will not slander PlayerUnknown Battleground while I'm here. I'm the only one that's allowed to slander it because
Here's the thing, Eric. I would understand where you're coming from, but hang on. just hang on a moment.
So, I'm messing around. Maybe I am. I don't know.
Go sit there and slam your desk about single player games, Eric. Damn it.
Fallout's a better game. Carry on.
See, that's like a backhanded insult, and I'm like, part of me's happy that you just admitted that, and then another part of me's pissed off at the same time. So, anyways, so PUBG 1.0 came out, and I was on the fence. Like, I play a lot of PUBG, like a lot of PUBG. I think I have 4 or 5 days in the game now. I think it's not that much. I know Tommy in the chat's got like 7. He plays a lot more than I do, but I got about like 4 days in it, and the game had a list of issues. Like from rendering, people falling through the floor. My favorite one was where the buildings didn't render properly and you could drive vehicles through them. Nothing really pisses a guy off more than when he's in the second floor of a house and you run him over because you ramp off a rock and go right through the house. The game had a lot of issues, but slowly but surely after its early access release, they've been building and improving the game. And with the release of the 1.0 patch, which, by the way, was a 13 gigabyte update, ouch, my internet, it improved a lot. Now, there is still some rendering and texture issues, but not nearly as much as they were before. The new map, Sandhawk, whenever they released a new map and when the game was in game preview, like when Miramar came out, there was latency issues, there was rendering issues. There's always a huge amount of problems. But when they launched Sandhawk, which is the half-sized map, it was flawless. I've had no issues with that map at all.
Really?
No rendering, no lag, no nothing.
Really?
Yeah. Runs
really?
like
I don't believe you. That's how much of a track history they have. I don't believe you.
Like keep in mind I have an Xbox One X, so that does factor into this. But everyone on this podcast has one, so yeah, literally like my load times are great. I don't get kicked out of matches anymore. Game runs very smooth. The gunplay is even a little bit smoother. They smoothed out some of the kinks in the leaning mechanic. They added in some great weapons. Before I dive more into this, Sam, what's your basic thoughts on 1.0? Because I know you said you got a chance to play with some friends there early last week.
I mean, real quick, it added a ton of stability that was much needed. I mean, the game had already improved vastly from its launch state, but this was a huge update. Textures don't pop in anymore. Buildings render properly. I haven't experienced any frame rate problems or any real noticeable lag. It seems to be performing really well. And the new map is awesome. I absolutely love it. If you've been turned off from PUBG because of the long wait times and the very tension-filled, oh, are we going to have to walk for 20 minutes to find someone? I like that aspect of PUBG, but if you don't, this new map is for you. It's a quarter of the size, and the gun spawns, Nick will agree with me, are crazy. They're over the top. It's ridiculous.
We got to squad up.
You can parachute down into one building, and there might be 5 assault rifles and 400 rounds.
It's crazy. I need to pick up PUBG again. I used to play that a lot when it first dropped. Then I tapered off onto other games, but I miss it. I miss playing with it. There's no other good. I shouldn't say they're not other good, but there really is no feeling like a battle royale win, especially through PUBG. Like PUBG has a unique experience, and I miss that. I need to get back into it.
Now, the one thing I do want to talk about is there is one gun they added in that is the sexiest gun. What is it? Is it the QBZ's the assault rifle, right?
QBZ, yeah, that's the assault rifle.
Yeah,
QBU is the sniper.
Yeah, QBU, the sniper. First off, amazing. One shot headshot kills if they've got a level 1 helmet. It's just chef kiss. It's just it's beautiful. Like you can hit when a guy's running, you hit him and he hits the ground right on the first shot. You're just like, that's that good stuff. The QBZ assault rifle is phenomenally good. It does a little less damage than the M4, but the fire rate, and Sam can attest for this, the time to kill with it is brutal. You could just run up on a guy and just gun him right down, no problem. It's a great gun. You put extended mags on it, it's just whew. And yeah, the gun spawns are literally insane in that game. Like literally insane. Like I literally, me and my friend landed, there was 2 shacks and we had 7 guns between the 2 shacks.
Okay.
I'm talking like auto shotguns, assault rifles.
You might be lucky to have 1 or 2 in a building, let alone 7 nearby.
Yeah, and it's really well done. They did a lot of performance upgrades. To answer your question, Tommy, is it optimized for the if you're talking like the Xbox One, the Xbox One S? My clanmate who I played duos with, he picked the game back up after being sworn off of it because of glitches, rendering, improper rendering. It's been rough on the OG Xbox. We'll be real here. And he's had no issues. It's better. He doesn't have frame rate drops. It's consistent. He still has a few rendering issues, but they changed. They must have changed how the render issues do, because it used to be the buildings won't render for him and he'd get stuck in walls. But now what happens is the buildings will render in once we land, and then items will take about 3 seconds to render. So if you're dropping in a heavy traffic area, like the 3 seconds for items to render might be an issue. But like I said, it's smoothed out considerably. So if you own it, I'd recommend installing it, giving it a shot. Would I recommend you buy it? I've got an article coming out for that on Monday. So people will have to check that out. Eric, have you even played PUBG or even bought it? No.
No. I'm just
he's on that Fortnite hype.
Yeah, it's funny. I have Fortnite installed, and it's like I probably play like 5-10 minutes of that. It's not. I'm goofing on PUBG. I have no problem. I don't have a dog in that fight. It's only because I don't get much time for multiplayer. So the multiplayer I do kind of play it's very selective. So I can pick what kind of one thing and roll with it. So Destiny is sort of like that multiplayer choice when I do get that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I've been saying, not that I don't want to try PUBG and kind of see what it's about. Same thing I did for Fortnite, and I was kind of like, it's whatever. There's no preview of it.
Yeah.
In the preview program, I mean, there's no free trial, which is very odd.
That blows my mind. I hate that. I feel like with Xbox Game Preview, they need to do some sort of curation where they can't have something if part of putting your game in Game Preview is having a trial for it.
Right. And it's one of those things I'm sort of like, whose fault is that? And I want to put it on the whole. It's sort of like, guys, come on. I mean, I know you're making dough. You're making plenty of dough, and you get the criticisms of, having this amazing space age studio, but what are you putting back into your game? You could put a trial up there, so people who are maybe on the fence or really have no idea about it can give it a shot.
Yeah, well, a perfect example is I was looking at DayZ because I used to play it on PC and it was good. It just needed to be optimized and finished.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put it on console and there's no trial for it and it's $40. I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
I'm sure it's still in the same state it was 2 years ago.
Don't even get me started. I can't.
Oh, I know. I played it. I played DayZ. I probably think I have at least 15 hours when it first came out. I gritted my teeth just to try and experience it and get good at it, and I couldn't bear it. It was like pulling a hair out of your head, strand by strand, and you're trying to make yourself go bald, sort of thing. You're like, this is painfully long.
I remember why I got into DayZ. I used to be on the forums all the time. I was like, when are you guys going to add in content for single players so people can play by themselves and enjoy the game? Because it's always been more team focused, friend focused.
That's
and the little response to me from one of the developers was, "Get friends."
Shut up, really?
I was just like, really?
You're like, okay, well then you get. Whatever.
Then you get bent.
I've never uninstalled something so fast from my PC in my life. I was just like, nope.
No kidding.
Get friends.
Kidding, man. Get friends.
So,
yes, you get friends. You get bent. Get bent.
So for our final topic, this one's just funny. This is old news. It was early in the week, but the moment it came out, I was like, oh, I want to do this. I want to talk about this. So, as we recently know, the Belgium Gambling Commission has put a chokehold on developers and publishers putting RNG-based microtransactions in their games. So anything loot box based or anything like that has to be pulled from the game. So CSGO doesn't have crates in Belgium. Overwatch doesn't have loot boxes. I'm trying to think. There was another game, another big game. CSGO,
2K.
Overwatch, 2K. That's right. Because this is how this all ties in. 2K's virtual currency is
2K.
Like their team building aspect.
And their NBA 2K19.
Yeah, the whole team building aspect, like I can't remember what it's called because I don't play 2K. It's like the Madden All Team or whatever.
Yeah, it's like career mode, Madden Ultimate.
Literally, that mode's not even in there because it's just microtransaction haven. So 2K made a statement and said that they wouldn't be able to deliver the full product of 2K19 to the people of Belgium because of legal actions against the company, and that if they were to publish the full game, they would face legal knockback from the Belgian government. So they had to remove the virtual currency permanently. Like you can't even buy VC coin in 2K in Belgium. And so they said we have to remove the mode and we have to remove the virtual currency. So we implore you to speak up to your local representative that you want these modes back in your game. So I'm sitting there going, hold up. You asking the internet to fight for loot boxes?
Right.
That ain't gonna happen.
Like we're just coming off where Star Wars Battlefront 2 is being sold for like $10 on sales now because it flopped so terribly because of loot boxes. And Call of Duty is in an endless cycle of hatred for loot boxes and everything else. And you're sitting here going, these guys will fight for it.
Wow.
Man, oh man, man, oh man. Like, what do you expect is going to happen? Yeah, fight for us so we can make money off of microtransactions.
Yeah.
Why would we let you do that? Like, think about that for a second. Do you really expect people to want to pay money for extracurricular things in a game? No, they don't want to. They didn't want to in the first place, and they still don't want to, but they've been putting it up for many, many years now.
Right.
Now that people are starting to stand up for it, especially a government forcing you to remove them, and you're like, come on, guys, fight for us, please. It's their savior.
I'm not going to lie. If I see a 2K fan, like a 2K19 fan that's sitting there going, we need to fight for loot boxes.
Like, man,
somebody will. You know someone will.
It's for not just that, but like it's just Belgium. It's just Belgium.
Yeah.
It's only for like one specific game currently, right now. Like, of course, it's going to be for future games as well, out in Belgium. But it's 2K speaking out like this, and it's like you're 2K. You don't need that extra money. You're okay.
The big thing is for me, I don't mind microtransactions in games as long as I know what I'm getting. Like if you want to sell me a skin for a character for $3,
yeah,
I'm fine with it. But don't charge me $3 a roll on skins.
No kidding. And you know what? I actually got to give a shout out to Destiny 2, actually, because with the Forsaken expansion with Eververse, they made it so you actually don't ever have to pay for any of the Eververse stuff ever again. They have bounties and stuff where you can actually collect the silver or the dust motes or whatever you use to purchase the items. You really don't need to spend money ever again. If they have like a blended option like that in a game, I'm all for it as well. As well as, like you said, Nick, just let me know what I'm purchasing and it's not randomized. I'm completely fine with that. But I really like how they put that blended system in for Destiny 2. I thought you guys might like to know that.
That's cool. I applaud developers when they either do something different to fix a screw up or anything else. Like Shadow of War removing their loot boxes, which
completely,
which was good. It's a shame it took them a year, but
yeah.
But the thing is there's more people buying that game. I know like 6 guys that went out and bought that game. They're like, oh, new loot boxes, kosher.
Yep,
bought it. And that's the thing. Is like you can do microtransactions in games, and I hate how some publishers are trying to act like, oh, microtransactions aren't evil. I'm sitting there going, I'm right there with you. Microtransactions are fine if you want to improve the quality of life of your game, especially if it's a game as a service type game like Rainbow Six Siege or Overwatch or something where you're continuously adding content. That's fine.
It's a necessary evil for those kind of
games. Like that's fine. If you want to add that content and everything, that's fine. Just take the RNG role out of it.
Yep.
Like I play Smite, and the most annoying thing that they've done recently, because the company's making more money, which doesn't make sense. So it used to be $15 for a premium skin.
Jeez.
But instead, they now made the regular skins that they used to put in chests that were like $3 a roll. They put all the skins are in chests now. But you can buy those skins individually from the chest. It's like $5 for a chest roll now. But if you want to buy a specific skin from the box, it's $15.
What?
Seems just a tad excessive.
Yeah, just a bit.
I stopped buying, and I stopped buying them. I have like $4,000 in microtransactions on my Smite account.
Damn!
Like I have,
good God, dude. Good God.
I have like 4 full competitive seasons of skins from when that game launched.
Hey man, like I gotta confess, I'm kind of the same thing with my World of Warcraft account when I used to play.
Yeah,
I dumped a lot of money into that account. And that's not including the subscription I paid for.
Eric, it's you and me now. That's it.
Look at me. It's you and me now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just have a hard time hitting that credit card transaction. You know, people asking me for extra.
Yeah.
You know, DLC is one thing, but you know.
Yeah, and I saw people complaining about the DLC for Spider-Man being announced, and I'm like, okay, look, you want an incredible single-player game with no microtransactions that has a certain quality to it, you got to accept them making up the revenue somehow. If that somehow is DLC, that's perfectly fine.
No, see, I'm mad. I'm mad because Spider-Man fans get DLC, but I'm a God of War fan and I don't have a DLC yet. That's where I'm mad.
Yeah, I feel you, Nick. I'm in the same boat. I want some DLC for God of War, but we're never gonna get it.
I said this on Twitter, and I got attacked for this. Like I ended up deleting the tweet. I said I want DLC for God of War. They're like, "Oh, what? Single player game is good enough? Now you gotta give them free money." I'm like, wait, hold up. You're saying you don't want a story expansion for one of the best games of this generation?
What a twist!
People can be odd eggs.
Yeah. I actually do think you're going to get a DLC for God of War.
You do?
I do. I think there will be one. It may be a while. It may be a bit, but I
think you might cave. I know, honestly.
Well, no, because I think, you know, according to Corey, there's stuff that they just had to take out of the game, you know, for, you know, editing sake and time sake and also budget sake. But being the fact that this game did kind of numbers, they're definitely going to want to tap that again.
Didn't Corey say in the Reddit Ask Me Anything before God of War launched that he wanted to do a prequel like standalone?
Yes.
He did. Yeah, now to be fair, he also said he's not sure it would ever get off the ground.
Yeah.
He had such a hard time with this one.
Buyers there, and honestly, like if Sony doesn't just throw a bag of money at Corey after how good and how well God of War did, they're not doing it right.
I agree, because he went through so much crap trying to get this God of War off the ground and published and created, and he had to go through so many hoops and so much, you know, BS from executives over at Sony. And when they finally got it through, I'm sure he was ecstatic. But now, with the way it turned out, how can you turn him down again? Like he's a money maker. He will make you money, and his games are art. Like you can't. Honestly, at this point, I can't see how they can say no. You can't. We want you to make something else, or they go, oh well, no, maybe find someone else. No. He's got something.
I think to wrap the podcast up, I think with Cory Barlog, he's ascended. he is now in that Neil Druckmann level. I use Neil Druckmann as an example because he's one of the most notable game developers out there. Like when Corey decides to stop making games, it's going to be the same thing with, like, everyone still remembers Romero because Romero made Doom. I feel like God of War for Corey is going to be that defining game, and it's so cool because he wasn't even the one that initially created it, right? So it's so cool that he's done so much with the IP and been just absolutely it's just awesome to watch because he's absolutely one of the coolest guys. Like, anytime I reply to his tweet, he replies back or like interacts with it. Like, the dude is super, like, noticeable. Like, he talks to people, he's always replying to people, and that's just cool to me. Like, Sam can attest, I was on a Discord call with him when I posted my God of War article, and when Corey retweeted it, I just about lost my bananas. And then when Judge, who voiced Kratos, retweeted it too, I went through another fangirl fit. It was basically me picking myself up off the floor in like a 30-minute period. But those guys, it's so cool because a lot of these guys have so much talent, but they're just happy to be there.
Yeah, they're just genuinely
that
nice
vibe
people.
From Corey is like, he always wanted to make games for a living, so that's what he's doing, and he's just happy that he can make video games for a living.
Right.
And there's so much there's so much passion to it, and it's awesome. And anyways, I'm gonna stop ranting about how awesome developers are because it's just on. And to wrap up, shout out to Stevenson, the PR guy for Insomniac Games. Good Lord, does that guy deserve a break after the Twitter beating he's taken over the past 4 weeks?
Yeah.
My God. That guy's going to need a vacation where the word puddle isn't allowed.
No kidding. But the last thing I want right now is any sort of rain. Take me to the driest, hottest, sunniest place out there.
I just imagine Stevenson stands outside stands by his window with a cup of coffee and it's raining, and he's like, damn puddles.
Hello, my old friend.
But anyways, that's the episode, guys. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Next week we should have a Spider-Man spoiler cast.
Yeah. I think we can reasonably all get through the story by then, right? Like,
well, I have to.
Yeah. Well, okay. So by that, you have to ASAP. I will ASAP because it's fun. Jared isn't going to play it because he's being Jared right now. We're talking about Eric. For being honest.
My birthday's coming up. Okay, maybe it just might magically appear. You never know. It might just be like, maybe I'll secretly play it and not tell anyone.
Maybe.
And like, boom, dropping with the facts.
I'll play it and not share my thoughts. How about that?
the whole episode, Spider-Man spoiler cast episode, is going to be like Jared saying in the back, trash.
Oh God! But Eric, no. In all seriousness, you think you can get the story done by next week?
I'm going to give it my best shot.
Sounds
worst
good.
Comes to worst, we'll plan for a Spider-Man spoiler cast next week. If Eric gets caught up in work, dad, and husband duties, I know how that goes, bud. I know how.
But you know, I feel like I can never complain about that, man, because you work like 400 hours a week. You have one extra kid over me, and you still like write and get games done and this and that. So I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah, but Sam can attest to this. There's only like a 2-hour period where I sleep.
Sweet 2 hours.
sweet, beautiful 2 hours. And Sam just plugs in because he's an android.
That's right.
So that's the show. So maybe we'll have a guest for the Spider-Man spoiler cast.
Maybe.
I'm working on something. Maybe. But thanks for tuning in, guys. It was a really great episode. We'll do our outros here. Sam?
So, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert. That's Tolbert. I'll be happy to talk movies, games, tech, TV shows, stuff like that. You can find what I write at tickgamesnetwork.com. Please come check that out. We're dropping reviews like crazy because fall is upon us. Lots of news, all the latest stuff, opinion pieces, and we may have a major interview dropping next weekend, and I might be publishing a couple of interesting snippets from it a couple of days before it drops. So be on the lookout for that.
I thought that interview was tonight.
No, that interview has already happened. It will go live next weekend.
Surprise.
Oh, it's next week. I need to pay attention to our own PR. I was so happy.
You do.
I sitting there, like,
you and I aren't PR guys.
I'm going to order a pizza. I'm going to drink some beer. I'm going to get like half loaded in the bag. I'm going to listen to this interview, and it's going to be great. Now I got to wait till next weekend. Damn.
You got to wait till next weekend. But it'll be worth it. It'll be worth
it.
Yeah, no, that interview is going to be amazing. And did Baldur's Gate come out once? Please? No?
You'll have to listen and find out.
I can confirm with absolute fact that Baldur's Gate came up not just in mention, but actually as a direct comparison of game development then versus now and how things have changed. And how maybe certain things that happened in Baldur's Gate would literally be impossible to do nowadays.
Okay. I need to God. All the blood rushed from my head. I'm excited.
Oh boy.
Your intro.
Well, people can find me on Twitter at RageVirus_X, or you can find my articles and writings and whatnot over at TechGamesNetwork.com.
Right on. And Eric?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, tooling around there. Once again, EC Jackson with an X. And also on Wednesday night on Brat Podcast at 9 o'clock with Enrique, Beat Money, and Slow-Mo Slapback. Backslap. That's it. Yeah. That's it.
Oh, man. All right. So, yeah, this has been Gaming Perspective Podcast episode 23. And we will see you guys next week at 8 p.m. Eastern-ish time. Have a great day.